In this lesson, we are going to put our modeling skills to test so that we are going to put together all that we've learned into making a model. We are going to make this table, just this table, or probably the chair, depending. Pick on any one of your choice to model. I'm going to model the table just to speed up everything, or I'm going to model the chair. We are going to model the chair. So first, we're going to start with a cube. And don't worry, you're going to get all this as a reference. Now we're going to hit on R and we're going to scale from the y-axis and scale this out large a little bit, just like this. Now looking at this edge here, you can see that it is rounded. So what we are going to do now, and also all these parts here are also rounded. Now we are going to select, we'll go into the edge mode. We're going to select this edge, select this edge, and also select this edge. I don't want to make this too advanced. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight everything and hit on Control B to bevel. Now, the reason I did this is that, let me quickly explain. When you look at this model, you can see that this part here is more rounded than this part here. So we need to, first of all, make this part rounded. After making this part rounded, then we make this part rounded. And once we're done with that, we need to start fixing the topology and trying to connect multiple edges together. This is a bit advanced and I don't want you to undergo that. Now, first of all, I'm going to hit on Control Z to undo that bevel. And the reason is that you can see we have an edge here going inside, so we need to also fix that. Okay, now we need to add different edge loops from here so that we can achieve something like that. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to right click. I'm already in the edge mode. I'm going to shift right click, go into the inside edge loop 2 and go to the option. From here, I'm going to click on multiple edge loops, and 2 is okay for me. I'm just going to click in the middle to insert an edge loop. Let me see, I also need an edge loop here, so I'm going to click to add 2. Now, when you look at this model here, you can see that these edges are close to the edge here. So what we are going to do, let's go out of the inside edge loop to, let's look for the front. So this is the front, so we're going to add this to the back here. I'm going to double click to select this edge loop, hold down shift and double click to select this edge loop. Now I want to move these edges to closer to this part of my cube or my mesh. Now you can select one and drag this here, and also select this one and drag this here. But the question is, are you actually moving this correctly? The distance between this edge and this edge, is it the same with the distance between this edge and this edge? Well, if you can calculate that, go ahead and do it. But to quickly avoid that, it's by selecting both edges. Select this one, hold and shift double click to select this one, hit on R, and when you hit on R, you have to scale on the X axis because these two edges are along the X axis. You have to scale to move them out, and this is really accurate. Now you can select this edge and select this one and scale them along the Z axis, which is this one here. So we did not talk about 1, 2, which is the bridge 2, and I purposely did not talk about that too because we are going to make use of that too here. Okay, now we've done this. What we are going to do now is to delete all these faces so that we can get this edge here or this break here. Now we can go into the face mode, select this face, hold on shift, select all these faces, hit on Control plus delete. Now let's first of all check and see if we are doing this from the back. So this is the front, this is the back. All right, hit on Control and delete. Now we can come down to this part here, select this face, select, hold on shift, select this, select this face and also select this one, hit on Control plus delete to delete thing. Now you can see that we have something like this here, but we have this hole and we need to fill them. How are we going to fill them? Now you can try something. Sometimes things doesn't work in Maya. So let's go into the edge mode, select this edge, this edge, this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge. You want to go over to mesh 2, you want to go over to edit mesh, let's see, or go to mesh. You want to go over to mesh and look for the word that says fill hole, which is this one here. Just click on that fill hole and it is going to fill that hole for you. Another way you can do it, it's by bridging. So now you can select this face, come over to this part here where you have the bridge to and click on bridge, and it is going to bridge that edge for you there, just like that. And now you can select this and also bridge, and it is going to bridge it for you. So whichever one that works well for you, go ahead and use it. But now take a look at the difference. The bridge manually create an edge for us here, and wide fill hole did not create an edge for us here. Now to create an edge yourself, you want to make use of the multi-cut tool. From here, click here and click here. Make sure you have this red square indicating that you have that vertex selected. So click on that and hit on enter, and that is going to create the edge for you there, just like that. So whichever one you feel like you want to make use of. I feel like there is an issue here, but let me quickly go in and see that okay, we don't have any issue. But let me go into the X-ray mode. Let's go into the object mode first here on W, and that is a wireframe. This should be the X-ray mode. Yeah, and we don't have, let's go into the vertex mode. We have only one vertex there. I just want to be sure that we have only one vertex there. So now we can go back into the shaded mode and I can enable wireframe on shaded, so that we'll go into the object mode and click off, we can see our wireframe. Okay, now we have achieved this and this is looking good. It is better. Now when we right click, go into the object mode, which we are already in the object mode. If we select this and hit on 3 to go into the smooth preview, you can see that this isn't looking good at all. Now let's hit on 1 to go back into the normal mode. That is where we need to bevel all this, but I don't think we are going to bevel at this point. But let's see. While we are in the object mode, let's hit on Control B to bevel. Now that we bevel, we can now come down to the segment and add a segment to be 2, so that we're going to get this rounded edge here. Now we can hold down Control and Shift and try to play with the fractions. I want to reduce the fraction a bit, just like that. That is fine. And now I can go into the object mode and click off. Now we can select this and hit on 3 to go into the smooth mode, and now you can see that we have something nice, just like this, no issues anywhere. But we have some kind of issue here, tight, now not having a tight loop here. So now we can hit on 1 to go out of the smooth preview, hit on Control Z and hit on Control B again and add a segment to this, and this time we're going to reduce the fraction just a bit, something like this. It's fine, but there are other ways to do this, but I just want to keep this simplified so that you can really understand this normally. Or we can also turn off the chamfer, and now when you go into the object mode and you hit on 3, now you can see how the edge is looking, but we don't have that rounded edge. So it depends on you what you are going for. But as you keep progressing with your modeling skill in Maya, you are going to understand how all this works and be able to create a clean topology. So I'm going to Control B to be able to add one segment here, or maybe I can add two. No, I can add one segment and reduce the fraction just like this. Now I'm not worried about this curved edge we have here. It doesn't really matter for now. Now we can go into the object mode and now hit on 3 to go into the subdue mode, and you can see we have a tight edge here, which is really doing good to our mesh. Now we are done with the top of our chair. Normally I can just go in and add multiple edge loops here, but I'm going to keep this simple just because of this tutorial. So the next thing we need to do now is to right click, create another cube, which we can use to create all this handle. Now hit on R, scale this down just like this. We're going to bring this to this part here. We're going to try to adjust it to fit in. Let's hit on spacebar and go into the top view so that we can be able to align this properly. So from here, we are going to turn on the wireframe mode so that we can see our mesh very well. So now I can just bring this in here just a little bit and bring this down just like this. Don't worry, I'm just going to fix this like this because of the kind of edge we have there. And I'm going to select that, hit on R, and I'm going to scale it up. And now hit on W to adjust this again. And I think I'm going to scale this one more time. Hit on R and scale this up. Hit on W and move this. And now if this is not accurate, you can just manually do this yourself. We're not trying to be precise here. So now we can go into the face mode, select that face and just extend it to this part here just like that. And let's take a look at this part here. You can just select this and extend it just a bit. That is fine. Now we need to create something like this here. Now I'm going to extrude. Normally I am supposed to scale, but I am going to extrude. Maybe I am going to scale. So first I'm going to select this face here and I'm just going to drag this up just like that, or maybe just something like this is fine. And I'm going to select this bottom part and take it down. Our stick is bigger than what we have here, but don't worry, you get the idea. You can manipulate yours to give you something small. It depends on what you want to do. And I think just bringing this down just like this, it's fine. And for now, I'm going to turn off the grid so that we can focus. Okay, now we can go into the object mode. We have many space here. Just you can see if we hit on 3, this is what we are going to get. So let's hit on 1. So what we are going to do is to add an holding edge here. We're going to select the inside edge loop to insert one edge close to this part here, and we can insert another edge close to this part here. And now we can hit on W, go into the object mode, hit on 3. And when we do that, you can see what we have here. This is rounded, and the reason is because these edges are shifting from these edges. They should be close so that we can get a little bit of a sharp edge here. Or another thing you can do is to just undo these edges you added, go into the edge mode, just select this edge, this loop round, just like this. Select this loop round. Select everything. Make sure you have everything selected. Hit on Control B to bevel. Now this time we're just going to turn off the chamfer and reduce the fraction a bit. Now we can go into the object mode, hit on 3, and now you can see that we still have something like that. So what we are going to do is to spread an edges in the middle so that we can push this upward, just like that. And you can see that this is also rounded. That is where another issue it's coming from. So now let's hit on 1 to go out of the subd mode, and now let's hit on Control Z to undo all this. Let's just select, go into the object mode, have all the objects selected, hit on Control B to bevel. Let's just turn off the chamfer and reduce the fraction a bit. And now if you go into the object mode, hit on 3, you can see what we have here. Everything is looking okay, but let's push these edges to the middle. So what we are going to do is to go into the object mode, shift right click, go into the inside edge loop to come down here, and now multiple edge, and I want to add 4 and I'm going to click off, hit on 1 that's added 41, and I can just come to this mid part here and click to insert 4 edge loops here, hit on reset, close this, hit on 1 to go back into the normal mode, and I click go into the object mode, select this, hit on 3. Now you can see that this edge, it's no longer moving all the way up to this part here. Okay, so what we are going to do now is to select this object, and when we select this, now we'll just go to the mesh and come down to this part here and hit on mirror, and now we'll hit on mirror. It is going to mirror this to the other side. Now by default this is aligning properly, so I'm going to click off. Now you can see that when I select one of these, it is going to select the other one, and I don't want this to be like this. I want it to be separate. So what I'm going to do is to select this. Now right click, shift hold and shift and right click and go to separate, and now we have our mesh individually inside of a group. We're not going to worry about the outline now for now. Now let me show you something. Let's go into the channel editor. Now you can see if I select every one of this object, you can see that we have some inputs here. If I select this one, we have different inputs. These are called history in Maya. At some point this might slow down your Maya, but you can get rid of all these as you keep working in Maya. Another use of this is that you can go back in time to do some modifications, like maybe the bevel, the extrude, and so on. So we did some bevel here. You can play around with all this. That is if you want to, but 99% of the times you may not even come to this part here. Now to get rid of this, you can just select one of the object and go to edit, go to delete all by type, and then history. When I do that, you can see everything has been deleted from here. You can also select this one, this, they are the same, so the history has been deleted. Every history has been deleted because we delete all by type. But if we go to delete by type, if I undo deleting the history, if I select this, go to edit, delete by type, history, and when I select this one, we're still going to see the history. So if you want to delete the history of one, you make use of that, and if you want to delete the history of everything, you just want to go over here, delete all by type, and then history. It's going to delete all the whole history. And now we can proceed to the next thing we want to do here. It's by creating this part, this other leg here. So now we are going to select this leg, hit on W, hold down shift and drag this out to clone it to bring it here. Now we can just hit on R and we're going to scale this down, which is not okay. So what we are going to do, the measurement is okay here. So now let's just hit on Control 1 to isolate. Control 1 is for isolate. Hit on Control 1 to isolate. Or what we are going to do, we can just also, hit on Control 1 to isolate. And now we are just going to add an edge loop here. So let's go into the inside edge loop too. Let's add an edge loop here. Hit on W and go into the face mode and select all these faces. Make sure we have everything selected and delete those faces. Now we can hit on Control 1 to bring back all the other objects in our scene. Now I'm going to leave that top just like that. If you go into the object mode and hit on 3, everything is still going to be normal. So I'm going to select this. Going to select this one and repeat the same thing. So I can just go to edit, delete by type, history, just to delete the history. And now you can see the pivot is at this part here. Now we need to center the pivot. So to do that, you want to come down to this part here and hit on center pivot, or you go to modify and hit on center pivot. It is going to put the pivot in the center of your object, or at the center of your object. So now we can select this object, shift right click and go to mirror, and this is going to mirror it over to the other side. Now we can just add all these other parts of our model and we can call it done. So from here we can highlight everything. Now hit on 3 to go into the sub mode and everything will be looking good. So we can just shift right click, add a cube, hit on R, scale this along the x-axis and scale this along the y-axis, scale this along the x-axis to make it small. Can hit on W to bring this out here, and now we can bring this down just like this. That is okay. Hit on R and just scale a little along the Z axis. Let's just take that up. Now we can hit on Control B to bevel, turn off the chamfer, and this is okay. Now we can hit on 3 to go into the subdue mode. Now you can just repeat this same process. Now we have this object selected, and now we can shift right click, go to mirror, and now you can see nothing is happening. Why? Because this is currently set to minus, because of we are mirroring from the left to the right. So now you need to set it to come down to this part and set it to plus, and now you can see that we have it here. So this is how you can easily mirror perfectly in Maya. Okay, now we can click off. Now these two mesh are the same thing. We want to duplicate this mesh and use it for the front. Now you can just right click while you have both of them. Let's go into the object mode, shift right click and come down to this part and separate. Now once you separate them, it is going to be a different mesh. So we need to hit on 3 to go back into the subdue mode. Once more, select both of them, or you just go to edit, delete all by type, history, but I just want to delete the history for both of them. Now you can select this object, hit on W. Now you can see that the pivot is not in the center, it is here. So you just have to go to modify, center pivot, and that is going to center the pivot. Now we need to clone this object. Now if we clone this object and we hit on E to rotate, you can see what we are having here. Now this is because this is still in this group, so we need to ungroup that. So we can just right click And let's just open this group and look for, let's delete this one and take one of these out. I can just put it here. Let's take it up out of the group. Now it is no longer in the group. So now I can just hit on W, clone this, hit on E, and now I can rotate perfectly. So if you have that issue, just keep that in mind. That is what you are going to do. So now we need to rotate this 90 degree. To achieve that, we need to go into the modeling toolkit. Now, if you don't know the particular axis, when you select that, select your object, just rotate on that particular axis, and you are going to see it in your modeling toolkit here. First of all, hit on Ctrl Z to undo that. Now highlight everything, just hit on 90 or minus 90 depending on how you want to rotate. Now hit on W and drag this out just like this. This is not aligned properly in the center, and now we have it here. Okay, now we need to go to our shape. From here we're going to freeze transformation, delete the history, and center the pivot. And this time we are going to mirror this again along the Z axis. So shift right click, come down to this part here and hit on mirror, and we are getting the wrong axis. Why? That is because the axis here is set to X, so we need to set it to Z. And when we set it to Z, you can see here it is. Now we are duplicating from the front to the back, so it has to be minus. If you are duplicating, if you are mirroring from the back to the front, it has to be plus. So now you can just leave this way, and this is looking good. We are almost done with our chair. Now we're just going to make the final things, and we can call this a complete model. Now we can shift right click, create a cube, hit on R, scale this down just like this, and scale it along the X axis, and still scale this down. Hit on W and bring this down. I think we need to make this a little bit big. Scale this along the X axis, scale this along the Z axis, and I think along the Y axis. Hit on W and bring this back here, and we take it downwards just like this. Hit on R and we can scale this out, scale this up along the Y axis, and scale it out a bit along the X axis. Now hit on Ctrl B to bevel, turn off the chamfer, hit on 3 to go into the smooth preview, and this is fine. We can now right click, go into the object mode, select this as usual, shift right click, mirror, and now it's still on the X axis. Now we're just going to hit on plus, and we're going to get that at that part there. So now we're done with the leg of our chair. We can now work on this part here. So we need to shift right click again, add a cube. This time we need to scale this along the Z axis, scale this along the Y axis as well. Hit on W, bring this up. Wow, we scale this a lot along the Y axis. So now let's scale this down just like this. Hit on W, and let's take this up and put it in here. This is matching so perfectly, but that is still going inside. So we can hit on R and just scale it a little bit just like that. Hit on W, bring this down, hit on Ctrl B, turn off the chamfer, hit on 3 to go into the subdue mode, and this time we are not going to mirror. We just select this, hit on W, hold on shift and clone this, and bring this to the bottom part here. This is what we are going to do. And now we can just, I think we can select both of them, select this and this, and just move it to the middle. Let's say bring this down a little bit. Now we can shift right click again inside the cube, drag this up, hit on R, scale this down on all axes, not all axes, different axes. I think we need to scale this down again, hit on W, drag this outward from here, and now we can take this up, hit on R, let's scale this down, hit on W, and just move it here a bit. Now we can hit on Control B to bevel, turn off the chamfer, hit on 3 to go into the subdue mode, select this, hit on W, move this one here, select this, hold on Shift, and move this one here. But I think this is very close to this part of the chair, so we're just going to undo and leave only that one for now. Hit on, I think we are also going to undo the bevel. So let's select this and bring this down here. I think, yeah, that is fine. Now we can go into the face mode and select this face and just push it downwards here. Now we will go into the object mode. The pivot is no longer in the center. Another way to center the pivot is by hitting the D key to go into the pivot mode. From here you can edit just the pivot without affecting your mesh. So now once you're in the pivot mode, you want to right click and hit on reset pivot. It is going to zero the pivot back to the middle, and now hit on D to go out of the pivot mode. So now hit on Control B to bevel, turn off the chamfer, right click, go into the object mode, hit on W, can hit on 3 to go into the smooth preview. Let's drag this down a bit, hold on, let's move this here, hold on Shift to clone it and move it here, select this one, hold on Shift to clone it and move it here. So I think we can move this one. So now we are done with our chair model in Maya. We can just right click, go into the object mode. You can highlight everything, go to edit, delete all by type, history to delete the history. You can have freeze transformation, and then you center the pivot. That is if you want to, and of course it's not going to center the pivots properly. Now to save, just go over to File, hit on Save Scene, and it is going to save it into your Maya beginners class or the project folder you created scene, and you can just give it a name. And I'm just going to name this to chair and hit on save as, and that it's going to save. From now on, you can hit on Control S to save. And this is how you can start modeling in Maya by using the components to manipulate your object in Maya. So take out your time, make your own modeling, and I would love to see what you model in Maya. So in the next lesson, we're going to see how to import references into Maya. See you guys in the next lesson.